Hey, what's up guys? Today we are talking about the high score electric event in Pokemon Masters. So this one here. I apologize for the delayed video, the delayed tips video. This one was actually quite hard. It took me a while to get decent scores. It was significantly harder than the last event, water type, because we had more water units. Now, I'm not here to talk about the data mine infographics. So this here will give you all the information you need about the event itself. Nothing that the game doesn't tell you except for this part, how many points you get for every stat increase, decrease, that for finishing the time trial at a certain amount of time. I'm not here to talk about that. You guys can look at these yourselves. These are a little bit more advanced tactics, details you might want to know. But I will just point out one thing. By the way, this infographic is by a person called Lost Mode, and it's data mined by Absolutely PM. One thing I will mention is that fewer attacks, so you can get more points for doing fewer attacks, up to 3,000, is worth more than the stat decreases. If you have a look at the numbers, the critical numbers to look at is... Let's zoom in. So this is for stat decrease. So every time you stat decrease the opponent, you get a certain number of points. But these are the critical numbers to look at, the multiplier. So what these are saying is every time you reduce a stat by 1, and if you're reducing the opponent's stat by 3, it'll be 3 times that. So it's about 17 to 25 points per reduction of per debuff, which is actually quite bad if you compare to fewer attacks, because for every hit you make, you will lose 75 points. And if you've got an AoE attack, so you're hitting 3 units at the same time, you're actually losing 225 points, because it's 3 times that for every attack. So even though stat decrease is important, it's the least important out of all the factors to consider. Now, I'm going to assume that you guys all know that obviously the most important factor is the ×3 multiplier by using 3 electric units. But out of the event rules, the 3 out of the 3 conditions, fewer attacks is more important, and fewer attacks actually ties in with time trial. The quicker you do the stages, the more points you'll get. So I personally found, just don't worry too much about stat decrease. If you manage to stat decrease, that's a bonus. Always bring in a Lola pair or a Unova pair, and also make sure you have paralysis. Most electric units will have some sort of way to create paralysis. Just make sure you proc that. For all of my teams, for all 5 stages, I managed to proc both of these conditions. We have reposted these infographic on my Discord, so you're welcome to find them there. And also, there is the other infographic that tells you whether the opponent is mostly focused on physical moves or some sort of special move. So if you have a look here, for example, the sync move, which tends to do the most damage, or situational, but tends to do most damage for Lieutenant Surge and Volcanar, is both. So because it's called Beam, it's both special, and then we've got Elisa, which is Impact. Impact is physical, and then we've got Clement, which is Light Up the World, Thunderbolt. That I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's special. And then Hangry Wild Charge. Wild Charge is usually physical. It just gives you an idea of what support units to bring to sort of buff your defenses or special defense. Now, if you didn't already know, I've posted now all 5 videos of me completing the 5 stages. So you can find each of these in my description below. I'll leave a link inside so that you can just play through each one and see the play itself. In this video, however, I'm gonna actually explain how things were organized so that I could create teams, sort of try my best to min-max the stages. It's not perfect. I didn't expect it to be perfect, but I did my best, and currently I can tell you that I'm ranked in the world top 100, so 93. It might go up or down depending on whether I try harder and whether other new people come in. So just so you know, I'm not just some new player. So I've been playing this game for some time, so I've got the units and I've got the strategies. Now, I'm not really sure why, but I decided that I would start from the right-hand side. I feel that it's because the right side, so Marnie, for example, and Clement, they tend to have more restrictions, so it already limits the sync units that you could use. So that's why I started. With Marnie, physical damage is reduced, so the clear tip here is actually just use special strikers, which I did. So Ash is a special striker. With Hao, he will set up electric terrain. Hao is really good too, but I only had him at 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, which wasn't doing as much damage. And because Hao uses electric terrain, I should say, I picked a stage where the opponents didn't have as many electric moves. So Marnie's stage, if you actually read these, down here, read these attacks here, there's like Seed Bomb, Crunch, Snarl, not many electric moves. So if you time it properly, you won't be boosting the opponent's damage. Whereas for a lot of other stages, if you look at Clement here, or Elisa, they use a lot of electric moves. Wild Charge, Thunder. Using electric terrain in those stages is just a death sentence. But if you time it properly, only using the terrain when you need it, or towards the end when you just need the final nuke, it also works. So the only other one that doesn't use as much electric terrain is Lieutenant Surge. So bring your special unit, bring in electric terrain, and pick a defender of some sort as your support unit. So Marnie uses a fair bit of physical damage, so bring a physical defender if you can. Also use your healers, your healing units over here on these 4 stages, because Lieutenant Surge's condition is prevent you from healing. So there's no point of bringing healing units to Lieutenant Surge. The next one I tried was Clement, and with Clement, the main tip is just bring 2 strikers and 1 support. So that's what I did. In fact, Zapdos here is a mixed support striker because of the EX role, but the other 2 units I brought along, with Hao being the nuker, and it's great because Zapdos can boost special attack, can boost crit, and can boost speed, which Raichu, Alolan Raichu, really needs to nuke. So I use Zapdos as a support EX sync first, and then subsequently use Raichu to finish off the stage. So don't bring any tech units, because his condition is any tech units will have reduced stats by a lot. For Elisa, the main tip here is save your physical units and also physical defenders. So for her, and I brought Yamper along, which raises attack, defense, and crit. Really good. It's in the sync grid. You can raise all of that with Yamper, and also has potion. And then we've got electric terrain for the right moment. And then we've got a Alolan Golem for that sort of general DPS output, damage output. Now you can sync with either Volkner, or you can sync with Sophocles. In this case, it may be situational. Sophocles is a striker, will be able to EX and hit all of the opponents, or with Volkner, he will do more damage, but only on a single unit. So I used my remaining units to work on these 2, so sort of tried my team in different ways against these 2. So no rules with Volkner, but he has both physical and special attacks. But it is a problem when he does evasion up, which is neutralized by the fact that Joltik can increase accuracy. So that wasn't as big a problem for me. And because Joltik uses Leech Life, which is a healing move anyway, so it couldn't really have been used in Lieutenant Surge's stage, so I brought Joltik along. Now, Joltik has 2 different moves. He can either use Electro Web, which reduces speed of all 3 opponents, but in a sync grid you can also reduce evasiveness, or you can use Leech Life. I'm going to say it now, don't use Electro Web, because the point reduction you get is worse for the debuffing than it is with fewer attacks, which I explained to you earlier. So if you can, just use Leech Life and try and keep Joltik alive for as long as possible, and you'll see me do that in the video. And then whatever units I had left, I went ahead and took down Lieutenant Surge. Very difficult. I had to EX my Zekrom. Zekrom is a pretty old unit now. It doesn't do that much damage, even with an optimized grid. But the great thing about Zekrom in this stage, and it may come in clutch for you, is that the opponent has endurance. So they'll start the stage with endurance, so you can't actually, so you can see endurance, you can't actually beat it until you brought it down to 1 health, then you have to hit him again. Fortunately for Zekrom, he ignores that. His passive ignores endurance. It was just luck that I was left with Zekrom to deal with him. But you can see out of the 5 stages, my Lieutenant Surge was the lowest points because I was left with sort of my weakest units at that point. I also left some extra tips on my Discord. You're welcome to come check it out. I'll leave a link to my Discord in the description below. The tips are under each video, so you can have a read of these. And good luck to your high score event, guys. If this video helped you, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel.